Welcome back, everyone, and today we are going to be talking about The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Shirer and why you should read it if you haven't already. I apologize for having to cover up the swastika there. I don't think YouTube likes me showing that, but this is one of my favorite history books of all time, so I can't wait to talk about it today. This book was originally released in 1960. Therefore, it's a little bit dated. It's probably the only critique that I do have with this book is that it is dated. So I will be providing you guys with a list of a couple books towards the end of the video that are a little bit more up to date, a little bit more modern, that you guys can pair with your reading of The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. So a little bit of background on William L. Shirer real quick, because I think it's important to know a little bit about the author. William Lawrence Shirer, 1904 to 1993, was an American journalist, war correspondent, and historian who reported from Europe during the tumultuous years leading up to and including World War II. Stationed in Berlin as a CBS radio correspondent, he witnessed many key events of the Nazi rise to power firsthand and cultivated a deep knowledge of the regime's inner workings. His direct experiences in Germany laid the groundwork for the remarkable breadth and detail found in The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. So, that gives you guys a little bit of background history on the writer himself, William L. Shirer. He is one of the greatest historians of all time. I think my only critique with this work of his would be the fact that it's a little bit dated. Since 1960, we've had a lot of new information come out about the inner workings of the Third Reich, and there are a couple things here and there that maybe William didn't get quite exactly right, but you can't really put that on him. He did the best he possibly could with what he had at the time. This book runs about 1,245 pages long, so it is a long one. I think my copy is around 1,140 pages long. I believe the 1,245, that was from the first edition. However, if you guys are audiobook people, you actually can find this audiobook on, obviously, Audible for a credit, or I think it used to be free, but I think it charges you a credit now. Or you can find it on YouTube, completely free, by this guy. I believe his channel is Dave Smith. I'll put it up on screen right now, but you can go check out his playlist. He has the audiobook version on YouTube for free if you're an audiobook person. Before I give some of my concluding thoughts about the book and why I love it, I just want to read you guys a brief summary of the book so you guys get a better sense of what's going to be in it. The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich is William L. Shirer's magisterial and gripping chronicle of the ascent, zenith, and catastrophic downfall of Nazi Germany, told with the immediacy of an eyewitness who stood at the heart of the storm. Drawing on a wealth of original documents and his own experiences as a journalist in Berlin, Shirer meticulously reconstructs the twisted path of Hitler's regime, from the seductive propaganda and brutal repression that took root in a disillusioned nation to the relentless military campaigns that brought Europe to the brink of annihilation. The narrative skillfully weaves personal anecdotes, psychological insights, and political machinations, exposing how a society can be corrupted by fanaticism and fear. Shirer's vivid storytelling and thorough scholarship ignite a profound warning about the dangers of totalitarianism, ensuring this landmark work remains both a cautionary tale and an essential study of one of history's darkest chapters. So I think that summary gives you guys a perfect synopsis of what this book is about. I don't think I have to say too much more about it than that, but as I said before, there are some inaccuracies. Now, like I said, he did the best that he could for this time, but I want to provide you guys with some updated versions. This isn't actually my favorite history when it comes to the Third Reich. I do think that there's a better history that's been written, and I'm going to mention here in a second. However, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Shirer is undoubtedly one of the greatest works of history, let alone World War II history, to ever be written. It's truly one of the greatest history books of all time. I'm sure if you go on Google right now and just searched up generically top 10 history books, you're probably going to find this book somewhere in the list. It's a terrific read. I highly recommend it. Like I said in the synopsis there, it has this narrative quality that really drags you away and lifts you on the story. And yeah, so here are a couple books that I think would pair beautifully with Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. So the first one is the Third Reich trilogy by Richard J. Evans. So Richard J. Evans is more of a modern historian. He actually just put out a book, I believe it was this year, called Hitler's People. I highly recommend that book. I'll make a video on why you should read it later, but I will also make a video on the Third Reich trilogy because I believe it is the best trilogy on the Third Reich and their rise to power, and obviously everything that unleashed with that. Terrific, terrific read. It is long. It's a trilogy, and each book is the size of a brick. However, I think it's the most comprehensive history on the Third Reich. So if that's what you're looking for, and maybe you don't want to read the rise and fall of the Third Reich, maybe you want something that's new and modern, maybe save yourself for the Third Reich trilogy. Again, you could find it on Audible. You'd have to use 3 credits to buy all 3 of them. I haven't found the audiobook anywhere else, unfortunately, but yes, I would highly recommend the Third Reich trilogy by Richard J. Evans. Another one that I would recommend if you're more interested in learning about the man himself, Mr. Adolf, I would highly recommend Hitler, a biography by Ian Kershaw. Ian Kershaw is commonly referenced as Hitler's biographer. That goes to show you that he probably has written the greatest biography on Hitler ever written. It's a little bit more modern, too. It was written, I believe, I'll put the year up on screen right now. I'm blanking. I think it was the 80s, but I could be wrong. But anyways, Kershaw's biography is fantastic. I recently read Volker Ulrich's biography on Hitler, I believe earlier this year, and that was another fantastic biography on Hitler. So either one of those are great. They're both 2-volume biographies, so they are quite long. But if you're interested in learning about the man himself and kind of getting into the nitty-gritty details of Adolf Hitler himself, I would highly recommend either one of those, either Volker Ulrich's or, like I said, Hitler's biographer himself, Ian Kershaw, the great Ian Kershaw. The next book that I would recommend is Inside the Third Reich by Albert Speer. Those of you who know that name know why that would be a very interesting read for somebody interested in World War II history, especially German World War II history. Albert Speer was Hitler's main architect, and he survived the war and had quite a few interesting interviews, and there are quite a few interesting books written on him. However, his Inside the Third Reich by the man himself, I think it's the best one, and I will be making a video, obviously, on all of these books that I'm going to mention right now, but yeah, I will talk about this book in more detail in the future, but definitely pick up Inside the Third Reich by Albert Speer if you're interested. The fourth book that I would recommend is Bloodlands by Timothy Snyder. This book kind of goes over the war between Stalin and Hitler and all of the atrocities that were committed between, basically between Berlin and Moscow. In between that, that's what Timothy kind of categorizes as the Bloodlands. And I forget how many people he said died in those Bloodlands. I believe the number was like 14 million. And it's a harrowing read. There's some moments in it, especially towards the beginning, that are kind of seared in my mind. They're burnt on like the front of my skull, and they're never going away. However, that was one of the greatest World War II books that I've ever read. It is very graphic, very gruesome, not for the faint of heart, but Bloodlands is one of my favorite World War II books of all time. And the fifth book that I'll mention today is one that I read recently called Hitler's Empire by Mark Mazauer. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I believe that's a German name, but yes, Hitler's Empire. If you want to get more into the nitty-gritty of the details of the Third Reich and how it operated, this is a great book. I highly recommend this one as well. So either one of those. I think all 5 of those books are fantastic. Like I said, if you want something that's a little bit more modern, a little bit more updated, I would highly recommend that Third Reich trilogy. If you're looking for a biography, I will make a list soon of my top 5 Hitler biographies because I've read so many at this point. I can make a top 5, and I'll share my thoughts more on Ian Kershaw's and Volker Ulrich's biographies there. But yeah, you can expect videos on all these books in the future. World War II is probably the subject that I know the most. I've read hundreds of books on World War II. I've been fascinated by it since I was a little kid. In fact, here's a little fun anecdote story. When I was very little, I want to say like grade 2 or 3. I don't know, I was like 10, 9, somewhere in that age. I made my dad quite upset because I went on Wikipedia. This was like when I first started to have access to the internet. I went on Wikipedia and I copied and pasted the Wikipedia articles for World War II and World War I into a Word document, and then I printed off those Word documents, and it ended up taking like I don't know, like $80 worth of ink and like $100 worth of paper. And my dad was freaking out. He's like, where's all my ink and paper? I need that for work. And I'm sitting here with a huge stack of Wikipedia articles about World War I and World War II. That's kind of how I got into reading about both of those wars. And World War II just gripped me, man. There's something about the story of it and all the different, theaters. You can study the Pacific theater or the European theater. It's fantastic. I love reading about this subject, so I'll have many, many more videos on this in the future. So that's all that I have for today, guys. I don't have any film adaptations. I don't have any music or paintings that pair with this. This is a history book, so that's all I have for today. If you guys have read this book and you want to share your thoughts on it, or if I convinced you to read it, definitely come back and share your thoughts on it. Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. It helps boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.